Hi, I'm Bree Schmitz-Drakovich. I'm the managing broker of Second City Real Estate, and I'm here today talking about the Northwest Preservation Ordinance with Bob Floss.
I'm the owner of Floss Law, so I'm a real estate attorney. In addition to that, I do serve as the co-chair for the Chicago Bar Association Residential Real Estate Committee, and also sit on the Illinois State Bar Association Residential Real Estate Committee.
This is not a problem that is specific to just landlords and buyers and sellers in this market. This is a whole Chicago landlord problem. This is potentially a Cook County landlord problem.
Yes.
Right? If we don't work together and get aligned now, this could very well get away from us and be everyone's problem.
The aldermen did this intentionally to give no warning because they didn't want to give sellers the opportunity to prepare.
Yes.
To try to get properties sold before the ordinance went into effect. No warning.
No warning. Due to something called aldermanic prerogative, which means that every alderman of their ward has the right to make zoning and building decisions for their ward. So this could, again, depending on the success or perceived success of this, pass in different parts of the city, but not all parts of the city.
It goes ward by ward. It'll
Yeah.
go ward by ward if it does expand. It won't be citywide. I'm not going to buy anything over there. And we are seeing some pushback from investors saying, look, I'm just not going to go over there then. I don't need to deal with one more set of legal red tape that I'm already dealing with all my other properties.
And that's the problem. Because the whole intent of this ordinance is to keep people in their homes.
Yes, it's exactly the opposite of the intention of the ordinance.
And if this gets to be too difficult and too hard to deal with, right, then absolutely landlords will just vacate their buildings and sell them vacant and bypass all of this. So...
And that was something else I saw in DC where it became normal practice. We have the unintended consequences. One was about eliminating owner-occupied buyers. The second is this going to result in a wave of really unnecessary evictions or non-renewal of leases and a mass evacuation of the neighborhood because landlords and sellers are just not going to want to deal with this.
If your tenant is month to month, right, you have to essentially vacate them to then give notice, right? So now we're thinking, if it's 120 days notice, they've been there for 3 years, we're now thinking back 5-6 months in advance to be able to do this because one of the provisions of the ordinance is that the new owner cannot vacate a tenant, even if their lease is expired, even if their lease is month to month, for 6 months.
We want the tenants to work with us. But what happens if you only need one tenant to decide they're going to stick it to the landlord?
Yeah.
And we both experienced that when a landlord
Absolutely.
or a tenant just decides they're going to go out of their way to be as difficult as possible.
And there's so many little details that, keep in mind, the fines can be up to $1,000 per day for noncompliance.
Yeah, it's pretty serious noncompliance.
There's very serious noncompliance.
Yeah.
I caution all of you out there watching this, please, please, please work with an investor agent, right? Now is not the time to work with your cousin, brother, friend from college, whatever, who became a realtor 6 months ago from the suburbs, or even parts of the city that does condos downtown.
I'll waive my right of first refusal, but I want you to give me a 3-year lease.
With no increase.
Or with no increase, or I'm paying $1,000 now. I want it at $750 for 3 years, or something like that. And, the investor who just wants to buy the building says, okay, and signs off on it. So they're cutting these deals with all the tenants to sign off on the sale of the building.
The seller will agree up front to reimburse the buyer if the deal falls through because of the right of first refusal. That's the only way I see that flying. Otherwise, we have to then extend attorney reviewed and inspection until we clear right of first refusal and then start the initial buying process on day 31.
The buyer's got to be there the whole time waiting to buy it while they're going through this whole process.
6 to 9 month process. So now if we have an additional cost of, let's say, $60,000 demolition fee, right, is the developer, rehabber, flipper going to then reduce their margin? And the answer is no. The seller is going to have to reduce their purchase price. So what's going to happen by this, increased demo fee is that it's literally wiping out decades of equity for these sellers. Under this ordinance, the tenants have the right to essentially sell their contract. They have the right to exercise their right of first refusal, and then they have a right to then sell that contract to a third party, right? The house foundation is cracking, the house is sinking, right? And we are propping up one corner with bubblegum and popsicle sticks. You know, it's not going to fix this whole problem. The problem is citywide.
So anyone who, in this area, the 606, unless you could somehow go and get those waivers from the tenants right away, this is almost going to exclusively eliminate anyone from doing a 1031 from this neighborhood. Yeah. I don't see any way that the agents are not going to have to tell people, look, you're not going to be able to buy anything in this neighborhood because it's just not going to work.
I think that the demolition and deconversion of 2 to 4 units in Chicago is a huge problem. It has been a huge problem for at least the last 13 years I've been a landlord in Chicago.
Long time.
And something needs to be solved, right, to stop the problem. So, like, share, send this with any investor community that you do, any meetup group that you go to, right, any Facebook group, any neighbor, friend, cousin, brother, whoever who's a landlord in Chicago has got to know about this. I feel that a lot of them have no idea this is going down.